Streets don't love nobody. Gotta find a new route to make it out, man, cause streets don't love nobody. Used to think it was all good, but I found out the hard way. Streets don't love nobody. Used to think the streets was all I knew, but streets don't love nobody. Nah, streets don't love nobody.
Yo, what's going on, yo? I'm Viggz.
I'm Bob,
I'm Jeff Williams.
and we back with another one.
Back with another one, man. Yeah, we got a real special guest. Somebody I met virtually a while ago. I say a few years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know what I'm saying? We ended up running into each other in the event we was having the other night at Pratt College. Yeah, let you introduce yourself.
Yeah. My name is Jeff Williams. I'm the author of My Feet Are Off the Ground. And like he was saying, we ran into each other at one of their movie premieres, and it was a great movie. I was inspired watching it, just seeing just different aspects of doors we still have to knock down. And I just was really excited to be there.
Yeah, man, definitely. And tell us a little something about the book. How long ago you wrote it?
So I wrote the book during COVID, while I was like basically isolated in the house and we couldn't really go outside too much. I figured it would be a good time to share this story. I mean, I've been holding the story for over 40 years. I was accidentally shot when I was 13 years old. And I just felt like, I needed to tell my story, some of the obstacles I overcame, just taking it from tragedy to triumph, just to pave the way for other people that's in those dark places, other people that got shot before. Just being like that GPS to navigate them through that journey so they don't have to try to figure it out. Just giving them some of the tricks and trades to surviving.
How long you been thinking about doing something like that?
Well, when I first got shot, I was 13 years old, so I really was just a kid, and I really didn't have no idea what that life would be like. I didn't even know how to navigate it myself. It was one of those things where it's like somebody just threw a scrambled puzzle at me and I had to put the pieces back together. But going through that dark time and just trying to find myself, like when you first get shot, it's more like a mental and a physical thing. Everybody's looking at the physical damage, but mentally you can't even find yourself. So it's like people trying to figure out, how can I help you? And it's just one of those lost situations where I don't even know how to help myself. I don't even know how to find my mind to wrap my head around who I was and who I am now.
I can only imagine, especially at that age, man.
Yeah, man, being 13 years old, I know how I felt at 26, you know what I'm saying? Being told that I'm paralyzed, won't be able to walk again, but still not knowing, like when you see somebody paralyzed, you don't know, you just say, hey, they can't walk,
Yeah.
Like you don't know all the other things that come with it, And,
Exactly.
yeah, like where was your mindset at 13 years old when they was telling you to never walk again?
Like when I first got shot, the doctor really didn't tell me I wasn't going to walk because both of my lungs collapsed because I was bleeding internally when the bullet hit me. So probably for the next 4 or 5 months, I never even knew that was the situation. I thought the bullet was on my spine. Once they did the surgery, took the bullet out, I was thinking like I'm going to walk back out the hospital, no problem. So I wasn't even really depressed or stressed out about it. I think as the days went by, the weeks went by, then those weeks turned into months, and then I'm still asking that same question, like, why I can't move my legs? Like, when is this going to change? When is this going to get better? And like you said, it started where I got shot and I just can't walk. Then I ended up having other situations where I couldn't even sit up no more. Like your balance is off, things like that. You lose control of your whole body where using the bathroom on yourself, you dependent like 100% on hospital staff just to come and turn you so you don't get decubitors and bed sores and stuff like that. So it's like you're already in a bad situation and every day is just getting worse. And it goes from worrying about walking to you just trying to survive and just stay alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. How important is it to you, like for people that's newly coming into being paralyzed with spinal cord injuries? Like, how important is it for them to have that education?
Well, one of the reasons, like I wrote the book, is like I said, me looking back 40 years back. I've been in a chair 40 years, so most of the people that I've met, I've probably been in a chair longer than them, and I haven't really been back in the hospital since I was released from the hospital, for any medical conditions. So I think one of the things I learned after having a bed sore myself and it almost killing me on the side of my leg was the fact that we so worried about I can't walk till you start neglecting other things in your body. Then people feel like, well, since I don't use my legs or the limbs you don't use or don't have no control over, that you don't really have to watch them. But it's like things like, something being hot that burned you, and then that don't heal the way it would normally because you can't really take care of yourself or you can't move. Everybody got different limitations. So depending on what those limitations are, I think it's so important to do everything that you can with whatever ability you have left and not just focus on the fact that you can't walk, but think about how you eat. And, I recently read this book called The Gut. And, like it was so important, some of the things in that book, like even going outside, having vitamin D, where some people get depressed. They want to sit up in the house. They want to sit up in the hospital. They don't want to go outside. And it's little things like that that just help you health-wise, eating certain things. Then it's like learning how to control your body again by the stuff you eat and, what things you eat that starts to make you go to the bathroom or give you diarrhea, things like that. Because I think a lot of it, when you lose control of those things, that also creates that depression. That also creates that feeling of suicidal feelings and, I don't want to be here and I can't live like this and things like that.
I think mostly that depends on the individual and how strong their mental is.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, what you saying is true because I've seen people feel just like that, like I can't live like this no more. Shit, at one point I felt like that, but then I had to snap out of that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like, do you think the hospitals educate
No.
like they should when you first injured?
I mean, what I'm seeing now is bothering me even more because I was in the hospital 9 months and I went through like the medical side where they was just taking care of me medically, trying to stabilize me, get my lungs back right. Then I went from that to like going to therapy before I actually went home. So I had a whole 9 month process. But I'm seeing people get released from the hospital in like 2-3 months, depending on how severe the situation is. And I don't really think they ready to go home because the first thing that I ran into when I got home was I didn't have the accessibility. My apartment wasn't accessible. I couldn't get through the bathroom doors, things like that. So I feel like when you don't have that access at home, you start doing things like unsanitized things where, you're in a room, you can't go to the bathroom to get the proper privacy to do the things you need to do. So you start cutting corners. And then you start getting more frustrated. So you start neglecting some of the things that was routine for you in the hospital that nurses was doing for you. Then some of your family members, I feel like everybody don't have that same support system at home. They don't have people that's really putting the time in properly, and they not even trained to do it the proper way. So I think a lot of that ends up creating bed sores. They not moving you, every 2 hours, things like that.
Yeah, and I asked you that question because I know once I got shot, I was in like a trauma hospital, and they sent me to another place to get therapy. But this place was like, shit, probably the best thing that happened to me,
Right.
from going there. Why? Because, I was newly injured. I had an attitude with everything and everybody.
Yeah, he mad.
And I never forget, I had this aide, man. She used to come wake me up every 2 hours talking about turn. And by then, I'm just getting sleep. So I would catch an attitude with her, catch an attitude. Yeah, I might curse her out. Then one nurse, like you had a TV right here where you can't reach it, They had this channel with nothing but wound education.
Oh, okay.
She threw that shit on, so I had no choice but to
To
watch
watch
that
it.
shit. So after I got done watching that shit, though, I said, nah.
You cooperated.
Yeah, I said, nah. Yeah,
Yeah.
turn me every hour and a half, cause they break it down for you, you know.
No, I'm glad you brought that point up because I think the wound education is probably the most crucial when you first get in a chair because those decubitus and bed sores, like they could kill you,
Yeah,
and like I said, most people so worried about walking that they don't, like you said, you angry about the fact that somebody shot you. You went through these situations where however people got injured. You so angry, you mad at the world. There's so many things going through your mind that you don't want to be bothered. You don't want nobody touch you, and it's so hard to go to sleep from all the pain and the different discomforts that when you finally get to sleep, it's not so much that you taking the anger out on that person. It's just
yeah,
within you. You're going through so much. And a lot of people don't understand it because people try to imagine what we going through,
yeah.
but actually living through it is a whole nother
Whole different
situation.
story. Yeah.
Simple things like people just get up, step out the bed, and go walk to the bathroom, where we got to get out, get in the chair. It's like a whole process. Every step that was 1, 2, 3 turns into like a science project.
I remember when I first caught my bed sores and I was in a manual chair and the nurses was just putting me in the chair, and they wasn't even telling me that I was like breaking down and shit. And I went to go get out one day and they was like, nah, you gotta wait for the doctor to come. And when the doctor came, he like, yo, you can't get up because this, that, and the third. And them niggas like, yo, you can't get up no more. And that shit just broke me down right there. I'm like, the fuck you talking about, yo? I'm like, yo, y'all was getting me up all this time and y'all ain't telling me. That shit made me super depressed right there.
Yeah, and
Yeah, definitely.
and that was the next part because I've been like, I'm grateful that I got sent there. Because if I would have got sent from the hospital to here, I wouldn't have got that education.
Right.
I wouldn't have got a counselor that was also in a wheelchair coming to me every day. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
You might know him. His name Matthew.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, Matt.
He
Yeah.
used to work over there at Helen Hayes. That's the place I went to, man. And I thank God, you know what I'm saying? Like Matthew will come by and check on me every morning. That's somebody I had to talk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
To talk
like a
to.
mentor. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's somebody that was actually going through it, living
Yeah.
through it. You know what I'm saying? And he would, like show me. You know what I'm saying? It's mad shit you can still do. You know what
Definitely.
I'm saying? In the wheelchair, like he was into so much shit. Like I remember he put me on a bike, and I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck?
How you do this,
But
right?
yeah, so you know what I'm saying? Like all that shit used to amaze me, man, and take me. You know what I'm saying? Like I still think him to this day. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
And grateful that he was there because I see people that come straight from the hospital to here, and like I said, they don't get that education. They just left to figure the shit out.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
Basically, that's the fuck they gave me to do.
Just
They ain't
left you
tell.
to figure it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they gave me like maybe a month of therapy, if that. And then after that, it was like, yo, here. They
Send you
showed
on your way.
whoever was coming to visit me at that time, who was there at that day, they gave them a paper. Yeah, this is what you do with them. This is how you do his range of motion. See you later.
Wow.
And that person wasn't even coming every day, so I couldn't even get my arm stretched.
Yeah, so that's something that I definitely, you know what I'm saying, want to look into. Like, how can we, you know what I'm saying, like, educate these newly injured. You know what I'm saying? Like help them get out of the depression. Like, cause I know that really like helped me. Like I'm telling you that should motivate me to learn how to turn myself at night.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
I feel like I said, if I ain't had that, you know what I'm saying? Like I would have been left to figure it out myself. And most people, like especially coming from the city, like I'm coming from, you know what I'm saying, a little bit upstate.
There's no help up there.
Yeah, so I see that's the only reason why I ended up down here. You know what I'm saying? And it's all about advocating for yourself.
Exactly.
And then, cause like they told me, they was like, cause this is a place what they would call like a subacute. where you don't stay, you just stay there for a certain amount of time, get your therapy, and once they think you reach your peak, that's when they will
Release you.
place you. If you're not going like to a home or something,
Yeah.
and you know what I'm saying, they seen that I was very vocal, and then they, you know what I'm saying, end up finding that spot for me. But everybody don't get it good like that.
And everybody don't have that support system. I mean, I think I've succeeded a lot, from having that big family support, having my mother, people around me, my friends, like immediately everybody stepped up, and they helped out. But, what I see a lot of times, when I start realizing some people can't never go back home. So then you dealing with the mental side of your injury. I remember when I first got shot and the doctor came in and had my mother like some pamphlets to put me in a nursing home. And I'm thinking to myself, like, he basically write me off, And then, I got shot in 1982. So this is before American Disability Act. I got shot in a time where nobody was outside in wheelchairs, where people looked down on that like, they was ashamed of it. People didn't want to say, oh, that's my son, or that's, my brother, or somebody in your family. You kind of, people hid people like that.
Damn.
So it was like everywhere I went, I was the only person in a wheelchair, and I'm thinking, people staring at me, people trying to figure out, like, what is he doing? Because, like you said, I advocated for myself to the point where I just refused to just sit there and just not be respected, And then I started thinking about all the people that was in the hospital when I got out. Some of them was there 3-4 years. I was down at NYU. Some of the kids, they had parents, they had a lot of money, so they kept them there, for years. And, just thinking that they didn't get the opportunities that I had, I just felt like I need to be so visible in society, where I just wanted to be everywhere. I went to skating rings, I went parties, anywhere that people thought we shouldn't be, I started showing up, And the more I showed up, it wasn't so much, the guy in the wheelchair. It became like, oh, there go Jeff, People start respecting the chair. People start respecting the fact that I could drive. And like you said, I started doing things that I never even thought was possible. And, like I have friends who got higher injuries, like say some of your injuries, where people got paralyzed from the neck down. And, the way they navigate it, where people would think, oh, well, what is he going to do? And what I love and what I think we all need to do, that I love that I see y'all doing, is regardless of our level of injury, regardless of what we've been through, we still outside. We still letting people see us. We still showing people that, like you said, the newly injured people, we got to be those role models for them. We got to set the example for them.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, no matter what happened to us, we still gotta keep pushing.
Exactly. And it's so easy for all of us to say, you know what, I'm tired of this. I don't want to live like this, right? Because no matter how many podcasts we do, no matter how many stories we tell, no matter how many times we explain our life, living through it and talking about it is two different realities,
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about some of your achievements, man. Like, since you've been in the wheelchair.
I mean, I think one of the biggest accomplishments from a society perspective is just me being able to have a regular job. That was something that was important to me, because so many people, I feel like, we get out the hospital, you get on Social Security, you get a check, and I feel like the check doesn't really give you the lifestyle that you're really looking for, that you really deserve. And then a lot of us had better lifestyles before the check. So you kind of want to get back to who you are, as normal as possible. And just being able to show up in the morning, go to work, be with my peers, and this is like the American dream. You go to college, you go to get you a job, and the job really helps your lifestyle. I ended up buying me an apartment. I was 17 years old. My mother helped me get me an apartment. So I ended up moving out. It gave me independence, and I think me being confined to a wheelchair, one of the best things was me being able to buy a car so I could get around, go where I wanted to go. The less I needed somebody with me, the better I felt, because one of the things that aggravate me is like having to wait on somebody to do something for me.
Oh, yeah.
So, getting a job was like one of my greatest accomplishments because it gave me the power to do even more, to be more visible, to accomplish more things. Then, when I met some people at Mount Sinai Hospital and they started letting me do like these over the top sports, water skiing in the wheelchair, playing hockey, flying planes, things that people that was able bodied was looking like, how do you do that? Where I start challenging them, and it just made me feel good. Like it kind of gave me that power back that, I existed again, and I think one of the biggest things is like mentally is just being treated like you belong. You know what I mean? Like I want to be a person again. I don't want to just every time you see somebody, it's like the first thing coming to their mind is what you can't do.
You a bad motherfucker because I ain't going water skiing.
Yeah, I was just about to say
I
that.
ain't. I don't give a fuck.
I
I
was
am
just
not
about
going
to
water
ask
skiing.
what
Yeah.
that experience is like.
And what really touched me that day when I went water skiing up in Connecticut, it was some guys there that had high injuries, from the neck down, and they had adaptive skis where they could still do it. You know what I mean? They threw them in the planes, and what I love about this whole wheelchair community is when I see us come together and we figure out a way. We don't say, well, you can't do this. We figure out how can everybody do it? How can everybody be included? So, that's something that, keeps me pushing, makes me fight and advocate for other people, who have different injuries. I mean, one of the things like I learned when I was in the hospital, I had somebody who had like a cognitive disability. He had got hit by a motorcycle, but he could walk. So all the things that I couldn't do, he would help me do, and all the things he couldn't do, I would help him do. And even like one of my friends, Luis Lopez, he got shot, paralyzed from the neck down, and even feeding him, like me and him go do speaking engagements together. We might break for lunch. I feed him. Things like that, and those things mean a lot to me because I've been in a situation when I couldn't feed myself. So it was something that like it wasn't like me making it a task or me feeling like, damn, I gotta feed him. It was more like that's my brother, and I'm helping him and he helping me. When I wrote my book, he, helped me with my editors. Nelson Crosby was one of the editors he was working with. He passed the information along. And there's so many things me and him do together that, I gave him a name, like I can't move, but I make moves,
Yeah, definitely. Wanted to ask you more about that because I'm in the process of writing a book, and yeah, just wanting to learn, like self-publishing, having an editor,
Yeah.
things like that. So yeah, definitely would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, and really like to get started with the book because I mean, me personally, I think all of us should write a book because though we all may have something in common that we got shot, we got shot in different ways. We got shot different perspectives, and when we write these stories, people get to hear it from every angle. Some of your medical situations, everybody medical situations is different depending on the nerve damage. You may get shot and then you recover some of your mobility. So I think that's something else that people should talk about. I mean, I was fortunate enough too where, people still want their life back. They want to have families. They want to get married. They want to do all those things, So I think putting those stories together and, I'm definitely here to help all of y'all write that book because I want to see y'all books. I want to read them. I want to read y'all stories. And I think what's good with the book, it's like if you go make a speech somewhere in the audience and you leave, you taking the story with you. I like to leave the story behind, But like, let's say you go home, you get a notebook and you write out 20 chapters and then just start taking the stuff out your head. Even if you get a recorder and just start writing like, all right, this thought goes in this chapter. This thought go to that chapter. And you just name 20 chapters. When you finish and you get all your thoughts out your head on that paper, then rename the title and make it focus more on the stuff that you was writing about. Then think of it like when I did my book, one of the things that, Nelsa Crosby, she does like a writing course. So I took her writing course, and, me and her worked hand to hand like day and night to the point where I started figuring out different things after what she was teaching me. And one of the things I tell everybody now, write that book like you're writing to somebody blind, so you can put more details in it. It's more descriptive. Like even when y'all did your movie, it's like I'm watching a movie. It pulled me into the room, So you want to have your audience like pretty much so deep in your story that they could feel it, And that's what make it a good book.
Okay, yeah.
Definitely.
Everybody's story is similar, but definitely not the same.
Yeah, definitely.
And especially just speaking, around, because not the ones that's really speaking about it don't really care about gun violence, don't really care,
Exactly.
and never been through it, never,
Exactly.
really lived it. And that's one thing I'm tired of, people that didn't really live it, didn't really experience it, is the ones that's in these main circuits, talking about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Talking about how can we stop it, but you don't really care.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
you don't even understand it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, even when they start talking about gun control, and people always automatically assume it's like some illegal gun that was used. And I got shot with a registered gun, So even how people get these guns, even different ways people playing with guns, and you get a lot of people, like I'm watching the news and I see two kids playing with a gun and they get shot. One of the kids gets shot and I'm dead. I seen police officers, they kids get their gun. So those are like the most protected guns that's in a house. So I just feel like you said, I think it need to be more of us at that table, more of us doing the gun violence speakings, stuff like that, where we live it, we understand it. Even when I go to schools, people can actually see the damage, and when we
Definitely.
pull up together, I think it's powerful because we not sitting there telling, like people always wonder when we go speak how people be glued to our conversation. But it's easy to listen to somebody who you can see live it every day.
Yeah.
And most people sitting there while you talking, trying to figure out if that was me, I would kill myself. I couldn't live like that, right? But in our world, we still happy, you know? And I mean, I know for me, when I first got in the chair, it's never somewhere you want to be. But after navigating it for 40 years, it got to a point where I was doing more for other people, changing people's lives, to the point that I had no regrets being in the shit.
Hmm. That's why, what I'm saying, when I heard Lewis title of his book, The Bullet That Saved My Life,
Yes.
I was like, damn, that shit is deep.
Yeah, that's real.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit is deep. You know what I'm saying? It really started, making me think that, you know what I'm saying, if it wasn't for this chair, where the fuck would I be?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially, you know what I'm saying, things I was into, you know what I'm saying? I was always a person that knew the consequences and was aware that the consequences can come, but I never thought about being paralyzed or in a
Right.
wheelchair.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Nobody never thinks about that.
Right.
Nobody never thinks about nothing bad happening to them. You know, we just live for the day.
Definitely. And I mean, I feel like even before all of us got in the chair, like I was accidentally shot. It wasn't like, I was living reckless or nothing like that. But even before that happened to me, you know, I felt like I was invincible. I don't know if it's just something that we grow up being in the hood. You just get this different type of mentality where, we invincible. We can't be touched, and I try to tell as many people and talk to as many people that this hasn't happened to, whether it's on a corner, one of the brothers that's sitting out on a block getting money, whatever the walk of life is, because I've met people every walk of life, and I don't just want to talk to people, that never been on the street, never been in a situation like I'm in Rikers Island, I'm at prisons. I'm like every walk of life because, sometimes people like, what you was doing there? And I'm like, I want to change lives for people that, I could have ended up there. You know, I could have been the guy on the block and got shot doing something. You know, like a lot of these people, whether they was drug dealers, whether they was robbing people, you know, yeah, those are bad things. But the reality is, a lot of that stuff come from how they grew up. You know, where they come from. You know, and unless you lived it, you will never understand how somebody. I mean, when you coming home and you 14 and your 7-year-old sister telling you she hungry and your mother on drugs and got a needle in her arm or she on crack, you know, how many days is that little 7-year-old little brother or sister gonna tell you they hungry before you go steal or go do whatever you gotta do?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And it's like, I just be thinking of, you know what I'm saying, like ways to go in the community, ways to, you know what I'm saying, basically right my wrongs. You know?
Right. Yeah.
You know, because I feel like, you know what I'm saying, that's maybe part of the reason why I'm still here, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Is to, you know what I'm saying, educate people on what I went through so they won't go through what I went through, you know?
Shit, plenty of days I thought about that.
Because it's like you dream, but it don't look possible, man.
Right.
You know, like it definitely don't look possible, especially where I come from, man. And we talking about it's just happened in my hood. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you recently saw the news, which you was just talking about, with 2 kids playing with guns. I'm from Newburgh.
Oh,
You know what I'm
okay.
saying?
Yeah.
So it just recently happened up there, and it's crazy because the kid that they arrested is like a baby mother's friend, son. And this kid was a newborn when I first got shot.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Now he 13 years old, locked up for murder, you know?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's just all for playing with a gun, you know?
Damn.
And it's like, damn.
And now you figure he looking at 25 years in prison, and where do he go from there? You know what I mean? He already had a mindset that was reckless, and now you're going to go to prison where you got to survive. You know, the same
At
way
that
when people
age.
talk about going to prison, right? And people who did 25 years, did 5, 10 years, you know, that ain't the same story of the person on the street saying, yeah, if I go there, I'm going to run this, I'm going to do that, you know. And I hate the fact that a lot of people misrepresent what prison is, you know, and not that it's the same way with these wheelchairs. We can't sit here and act like you wasn't depressed. This didn't bother you. You know what I mean? It bother you every day. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is, let's not portray something and make it look like it's a joke when you and I both, all 3 of us know most people can't survive this. You know, they had a couple of people, this young lady who committed suicide maybe a month or 2 ago because she left a note on Facebook like, I just can't deal with this no more. You know what I mean? And I just think it's important, you know, my role in it is to show as many people as possible how much we can accomplish, you know, because I feel like that's giving somebody hope. You know, even when I first met Ed, you know, and I rolled in the hospital and, you know, he had just got shot and he was dealing with it mentally, you know, and I remember him saying, like, I didn't just come there to talk to him. He said when he saw me, he saw somebody that looked like him. And he said, yo, I saw your swag and I felt like, yo, this really could happen. You know, and sometimes you just need that one person. You just need that spark in the dark. Like, yo, I need a little bit of light, you know, just, I mean, like I tell a lot of parents, you walking in a room telling your kid you're going to be all right, and then you walking out. You know, your friends coming in, oh, yo, you're going to be all right, and they walking out. And then, like, every day you slowly see people disappear, you know. And then some people, they don't have nobody, you know. Yep. And then depending on where you located, you know, like in the city, you could get around, you can get out, go different places, you know. But when you in these other places, you know, North Carolina, you in Ohio, somewhere, you know, thank God for social media where people can actually reach out to each other, you know. But I think one of the things that, you know, I would want to work on in the future is having some type of, like, it's a lot of peer groups and stuff like that, but just having, like, those educational things that you was talking about so people can avoid it, you know, instead of having to go through some of the stuff we could have avoided if we have been educated on, you know, different things. And like you said, first you thinking I'm going to wait for somebody to turn me. when you realize it's life and death, you figure out how to turn
Yeah.
yourself, no matter what your situation is, you know. So, I mean, one of the greatest advice I can give anybody newly injured is stop depending on people, you know. Do everything that you can in your ability to be independent as possible, because even with limited mobility, you know, moving your arm every day, it gives it exercise. And the more you do it, the stronger you get. I mean, if all of us had even more limitations than we do right now, because we had to figure it out. You got people who ain't got no arms and they eat with their feet. You know, they figured it out, you know. So it's like taking your limitations, treating it like math, and just figure out what is your math to get to your answer, you know.
I think the main thing is just to still keep pushing and living your life.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because like you said, like these educational, like I feel like that's like a vital piece. You know what I'm saying? To not only knowing that you might see somebody in the wheelchair, but everybody different. You know,
Yeah,
But
exactly.
no matter how you know what I'm saying, everybody different. Your body gonna respond to it different than my
Exactly.
body. You know, like that's something you definitely don't get. You know, at the beginning
Right.
of your injury, because like you said, some hospitals, man, especially if you don't got the funds. You know what I'm saying?
That's the other
They
part.
yeah,
Yeah. You're going to get treated like your coverage,
yeah,
you know? And like you said, the hospital job is to stabilize you and get you out of there, you know? So, you know, you got to understand that from the time of that injury, as hard as it is to find yourself mentally, the sooner you get back to reality, the better you're going to be, you know? But that reality better come a lot faster than sooner than later, you know? Because not only that, as even the people that love you, if you don't help yourself, they not going to help you.
yeah, definitely.
And some people don't even have the family to help them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like Alex was asking me not too long ago, you know, like what was the best advice I ever got, you know what I'm saying? I was telling him like my father used to always tell me, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna come a situation where you really gonna see who your friends is.
Right,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? Like I say, they might come once, twice, but you slowly see them disappear.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? Slowly see them disappear.
Definitely in this situation.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to say I was fortunate. Like, my friends from day one, I mean, it's crazy because it wasn't no elevators, wasn't no ramps, none of that. You know, I went to college with a couple of my friends carrying me up the train steps, down the train steps. So it's like when I look back, having them in my life, you know, I always call them, I always talk to them to this day, just to thank them, like how you said with Matt, right? It's like when you get the people that's just there because they want to be there. You know what I mean? You know, things like that, you know, standing by your side. You know what I mean? Like, even when I first got shot, even at 13, you know, I had a little girlfriend, and she stayed in the hospital with me the whole 9 months, you know. Nobody really just got up and said, you know, walked away. But I've witnessed it happen to other people while I was in the hospital. You know, even people that I go see in the hospital, you know, when I show up, you know, it's crazy to them because they like, you more supportive to me than people that been with me my whole life that walked away, you know, and I don't even know them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People reach out to me on social media. They might see some of the things I'm doing, and they like, you know, you really inspire me, you motivate me. Like, do you mind if I call you or whatever? And, you know, they'll send me a message when I respond, because I respond to all my messages, you know, because I just never know. I might just be that phone call that saved them, you know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And, you know, a lot of them that talk to me like, yo, Jeff, I'm just in a dark place. Like, I ain't really feeling good about myself, you know. And, you know, I just give them that heart to heart. And I think what's good talking to each other is I understand, and you know I understand. You know, you're not talking to somebody that ain't been through it, you know. And, you know, some people's situations is a little better than others, but at the same time, when you broken, you know, mentally. So I just feel good that I can be there for somebody because somebody was there for me.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about this real estate, man.
Yeah.
You was telling me that you was into real estate, man. Like how was that? And how was that learning that field?
I had a friend named Kim Parker. She was a real estate broker, and she was like, Jeff, you know a lot of people. You real social. You got good personality. I think you'll be good in real estate. And you know, you got to take a test. It's 100 questions, multiple choice. Then it's 100 questions you take. Once you pass the class test, then you got to take the state test. That's another 100 questions. Then you get your license. Then you have to take your license to a broker, and the broker has to hold your license. Then you do like a 50-50 split with all your deals, or 70-30, 60-40. The more deals you do, the more percentage you get. So I remember like when I first started, and once you get that license, you pretty much can sell anything that's for sale in New York. And I remember I was in the Bronx over by Yankee Stadium in Mott Haven area, and there was a co-op over there. And I had one of my friend's sister was selling her apartment. He said, Jeff, my sister's selling her apartment, I'm going to let you do it. And that was like one of my first listings. I ended up getting that listing, and I sold it to somebody from Connecticut. And it was crazy because they moved to the apartment from Connecticut, and his sister moved to Connecticut. Mm-hmm. But after I did that sale in the Bronx, and it was like at the time the Bronx had started transforming, so it was getting better, and people were starting to move into the Bronx because of the pre-war buildings and the large apartments. And I remember she said, wow, I really like this apartment. And they was from like Yale or Harvard. They was teachers, and one of them was a musician. And they ended up doing a New York Times story on the sale. And it was like apartment sold for a song, this was the name of the article. And they had listed me as the agent for the sale. And that's what really started my real estate career. And I remember getting that first check, and I couldn't even believe the money. Like, I would sit up late at night, watch them info commercials about real estate, and you can make 20,000 overnight. And I'm thinking like, this is a scam, right? And I just kept looking at that check. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, I can't believe I made this. And it just motivated me, and I just kept on doing different sales. Then I ended up working with a couple of other brokers in the Bronx. Lady named Ariella, she was like one of the best brokers that, knew that area of the Bronx. She had probably the most sales in the area. And me and her started doing deals, and I just started doing deal after deal, and, the money was coming. I started buying other properties, and it just helped me elevate, from there. So recently I just started my own brokerage, and now I'm a real estate broker myself. And I decided like I wanted to do something called wheel estate. And what that is me teaching people in wheelchairs how to get their real estate license and how to pass that test. So I put it out online. I do classes online just so it's accessible for them and stuff like that. But it's something that I feel, getting a check every month and being able to get like a lump sum of money, to buy the things you want to. Like, I'm tired of seeing people in wheelchairs have to go to a nursing home or have to live in subsidized housing. Like, I want them to feel good like I felt when I bought my first place, And me being in a wheelchair, owning a couple apartments and houses and stuff like that, I just want to give people those same opportunities. I'm trying to work with some developers because I want to try to see if I could do like universal design and get them to help me build homes that's already accessible. Because one of the challenges that I ran into, even being a real estate broker, is this accessibility issue where I'm buying a house and then I got to take the doors out to make the doors wider, make the house accessible, build ramps inside my garage and stuff like that, where I just feel like, why can't we have this door an extra 30 inches? Because even if you came to my house, I want you to be able to come in, be comfortable, because I understand when I go places and can't get in and out and move around, so, I go to my family house and they got steps and stuff like that. But, like I said, what I love, my Aunt Renee, she never left me downstairs. If everybody went down to the lake, down all, it's like a whole bunch of steps in the back of her house to this lake in Jersey. She would throw me on her back, carry me down to the lake. When everybody came back up, she carried me back up. So little stuff like that just meant a lot to me.
Yeah, man, it's dope, man. That you really got into that and became. Cause I hear stories that people, you know what I'm saying. A lot of people don't become successful,
Yeah.
or don't, you know what I'm saying. Feel like it's too slow or something like that.
They do have those challenges where, I mean, there's been times a year might go by, you might not get a sale, but it's like any other work. You know, you got to grind. A lot of people fail in real estate because they don't do the homework. They don't put the work in. You know, I mean, what I like about it, you know, like I tell people, if, even in a wheelchair, you know, with the internet, you can post online. You can make phone calls all day long. You know, for me, I put a different spin on the hustle where I would go down a street and say it's houses on this side of the block, houses on that block. I would make a flyer and leave my card and put it on every door on that block. If you're looking to sell your apartment, your house, you know, please contact me. If you're looking to buy a house, please contact me. And then what ended up happening, you become known in that neighborhood. You build a relationship. You build trust. Participating in community activities so people can see you. I mean, you got to think most people was taking their life savings, making this deal with you to purchase a home or to sell a home. So that's probably one of the most crucial transactions they're going to do in their whole life. So they got to be able to trust you and understand that I don't just sell real estate. You know, I teach people, you know, the appreciation of the property and why this area may be better than that area, educating them on, you know, the financial side of it as well. So they not just buying a house that 5 years from there, the house ain't make no money. So, you know, like a lot of the properties I sold to people in the Bronx near Yankee Stadium, those properties went up $50,000 in appreciation, $100,000. They bought it at, like, my first couple of apartments I might have sold in that building at $200,000. Today they at $700,000. Stuff like that, you know, and teaching people how to, like, say if you pay an extra payment on your principal on your home mortgage, that you could take off 7 years worth of interest every time you pay an extra payment, things like that. So I'm not just selling them properties, I'm teaching them how to, you know, invest their money and how to get the best out of the investment. Because what, on average, just some quick math, if you buy a house for $300,000, your payoff is $600,000 with the interest. It's almost like a credit card, and that interest compounds every day. But nobody teaches us like compound interest. Nobody teaches us about mortgages, interest rates, things like that. We go in the bank and just sign our name because we don't really know, and people don't like this. Like where we come from, if you don't know, people don't want to say they don't know. And they don't ask the right questions because you don't know what question to ask. You know what I mean? So just being able to educate them in those different ways. I take my clients out. One other thing, like if I'm selling a house and the steps there, I go to the property and I might bring my son with me and he'll carry me up the steps or something like that. Or I'll just go to the property, give the person the keys and let them go up. Or I have somebody use a phone and do a virtual showing for me. I use the virtue to explain the apartment, and then my client go up the steps and see it.
Oh, okay.
So you don't even have to let the steps be like an obstacle for you, or like, all right, I can't sell this property because of steps, you know, things like that. And I mean, some of my clients, when I first started, they were surprised when they got there and I was the agent, and they like, oh, like they looking for Jeff, and I'm sitting right in front of them.
They was.
Hey, yeah. And I mean, that was like the deer in the headlights moments for me, but stuff like that I love. Like most people get offended that's in wheelchairs, they get offended sometimes. Those moments are like educational moments for me, right? Because if you that surprised, that just means exactly what I think it means, right? That you don't think somebody in a wheelchair can do this, right? Mm-hmm. So I love to see that going in, and then you become my client. I sell you the house, and then we become friends, and then you respect the chair, and you respect that I'm a human being, and you respect the fact that I'm still able to make this happen.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. You know, and those moments where we educate people on our situations and, you know, show them that we can still do these things. You know, and then there's different things where I want to get like a team of people, because I think, like you said, it's people in wheelchairs, they interested in doing real estate, and there's different ways they can do the real estate. So let's say if somebody has less mobility, they can't get outside, they can't move around as much, they don't have a car or transportation. I mean, we can put them on the phones, you know what I mean? And like try to set up different opportunities. So like on most deals, I might get, say, 10,000, 20,000 off the deal. It's 6% commission. If 2 brokers is on it, you get 3 and 3, right? But let's say if we doing the average house in New York is 500,000, and say I'm getting 20,000 off that deal, you making the phone calls for me. I can throw you a couple of $1,000, stuff like that. And there's like we have a team where I don't have to make all those phone calls. You can make the calls while I'm showing apartments. And then we just make it like teamwork, make the dream work.
Well, shit, where do I sign? And where do I look at?
We're going to make that happen for sure. We're going to definitely make that happen.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Like I got my own real estate company. I mean, I'm a real estate broker. So I can definitely put that in play. I just got a listing this week. It's over in the Bronx, over by Yankee Stadium. It's a 2-bedroom apartment for $350,000 that I'm working on there. It's totally renovated, everything in there new. That could be our first project, and I'll show y'all how to make it work. We could make flyers. Y'all can print the flyers out. I need, say, 200-300 flyers. Y'all make the flyers.
That's my job right there.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the artist.
Right. And I mean, like, for example, y'all in the hospital, right? All these nurses need somewhere to live, right? Y'all make the flyers here, give the flyers to the nurse, hang them up in the cafeteria, stuff like that. And then, boom, you put your name up there, contact me if you're interested. They make the contact. You call me and say, Jeff, I got a nurse. She want to see it on Friday. I'm sitting there waiting.
Just tell me what you want on the flyer. I'll print that motherfucker out.
Exactly.
Yeah, that definitely, I'm definitely interested.
And then y'all learn some of the terminology. Like when I leave here tonight, I'm going to email both of y'all some real estate words and terminology so you'll just understand the language. It's like doctors, they got their medical language. Real estate got their language, stuff like that. Because people going to ask you things like how many square feet is the apartment? Is it 2 bathrooms, things like that. Even geographical locations, like is it the South Bronx, is it North Bronx, stuff like that. What part of Queens, you got Jamaica, Queens, you got Brooklyn, different things like that. Like, say, around the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, around Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, around all of those stadiums, the property value is up. And other things like for y'all to start, just to get started, like looking at Zillow, Truly, or real estate sites, go look at how much certain apartments cost so you can start to get an idea. This type of apartment costs this. Apartments down on 79th Street in Manhattan cost this. Like, you got apartments in Manhattan that might go for $40 million, stuff like that. But now the question is, how much commission you getting on $40 million?
Yeah.
You can do one deal and you finish for the period, So I think everybody should write a book and everybody should have multiple streams of income, and real estate should definitely be one of them.
Definitely. Got me ready.
You ready to make a deal right now?
Got me ready.
So do you also rent? Or?
Yes. The way the rental works, so let's say if it's a rental, say you got a 1-bedroom rental, is $2,000 a month. So what'll happen if I rent the apartment to you, they say 1 month's rent, 1 month security, and the deposit. So I get the 1 month's rent, and that goes to the real estate company. So that $2,000, if the rent is $2,000, I get $2,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the thing is, what I normally do is set up, say I might go with a high-end property, say $1 million property. Then I might have 3 or 4 at $500,000. Then I might have 2 or 3 co-ops at $150,000, $200,000. And then I have 4 or 5 rentals that I'm doing regularly. So like when you say it was slow, you do rentals. If I do a rental this week, I get paid this week. If I do a house or a co-op or a condo, it could take 3 months before you close that deal. So then I might not get a check till, say, 3 months from now. So what I try to do is line up a couple of deals. So I might get one in June, I get paid. Then I might get one in July. You know what I mean? Then I might get one in January. So you constantly got something coming down the line.
Yeah.
Then that's how you keep your money going. And then I got a full-time job. So most of my real estate stuff I do after work or on the weekends. So say I get off work at 4:30, 5 o'clock. I'll set up a showing. I'll meet somebody. I tell my client, meet me at 6 o'clock. Meet me at 7. I might do that from 6 to 9. Then Saturday and Sundays, I might do it all day, have an open house, stuff like that.
Okay. How did you feel when you bought your first property?
I mean, that gave me so much independence. I felt like accomplished. More than anything, it just like you kind of, I think for most people, you kind of go through your life wondering like, okay, I lived this long. What do I have to show for it? You know what I mean? So me buying that first apartment, I felt like, wow, I really accomplished this. It was like a dream, being able to turn the key in my own place, and I owned it, me sitting in shareholder meetings with other owners in the building. It just made me feel good about myself, and like I feel like when I make it in those rooms, I just kind of that yellow brick road for somebody else to make it in that room. And the things that I'm learning while I'm in that room and being able to go public and talk about it and help other people. Because part of the problem, some people, they succeed, but they give you this level and you need this level when you start it. You know what I mean? They don't tell you the basics. It's like, people tell you invest. Invest $1 million, invest 100,000, and you're like, I got $20. How do I invest $20 to get $40? And I think, me being able to translate from where I come from to where I'm at is what I think I'm good at. And that's what I like doing, where I can bring people from where I started to where I am,
Yeah, man. Damn. I can just, you know what I'm saying, not relate, but I can feel, you know what I'm saying, like, damn, this is mine.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
It's like I'm going through the hardest and hellest time right now, just trying to transition out of here,
Right.
and trying to find, you know what I'm saying, one, affordable, two, dealing with all the other shit, you know what I'm saying, accessibility. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Places that's accessible, you know what I'm saying? Like somebody offer me a studio. What the fuck am I gonna do with a studio? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
And it ain't like you don't know my injury. You don't know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you need space.
And this is people that's helping me
Right.
that I spoke with already, And it's like,
They still saying the same thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, like they want you to have the bare minimum, man.
Nah,
You know what I'm
that's why this whole real estate piece is so important for me to help people get away from that. I mean, the other challenge is once you make a certain amount of money, then it starts creating issues for your medical coverage, right? And so I had to go get a job that paid me enough money that I could give up that check. I could give up the medical and get medical at my job and things like that. That's what real estate won't give you. You know what I mean? So it still comes back to, you having to talk to an accountant and stuff like that because they have like certain bank account setups that people with disabilities can put a certain amount of money in and still be able to get their benefits. Because what I don't want to happen is somebody who really need, because even though they'll say, all right, go get a job. But if that job ain't paying a certain amount of money and then they giving us minimum opportunities, our wheelchairs cost $10,000, $25,000. So people don't even understand that.
Yeah.
Like people be looking like, oh, he in a wheelchair. My chair costs more than your car.
Yeah.
So, it's things like that. But, just trying to put a structure together that you can still do real estate, still make, not interfere with your medical and stuff like that. But I think the first step, like I said, we got to start somewhere, and like I said, giving you a piece of the real estate, something to do, and then you just keep adding to the responsibility, and then ultimately you get your license and all that. You know what I mean? And I mean, even getting that license, it's like a driver's license. When you get that real estate license, it's just power to sell everything that's for sale. You know what I'm saying? What's good about it too, let's say if he's selling his house and he hire you as the listing agent, right? You're going to give him a contract, and that contract is saying you're the exclusive seller, right? So let's say you go to the Bahamas for 2 weeks, 2 months, right? Or you in the hospital for 2 months, right? While you in the hospital, I'm another broker another real estate agent. I find him, and he want to buy the house. You ain't do nothing, right? I still got to give you half of the money. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I'm telling it, right? Yeah. Because you have the exclusive rights to the contract. He's bringing the buyer. You got the seller. Yeah. So what I also do is try to get that exclusive contract side, right? Mm-hmm. So no matter who sells it, you get paid. So what's good about that is, you know, if you have limited access, but you got the contract because you got the license now, then you're going to get paid.
All right, so tell them how they can get that class, how they can find the book, they can find you on social media.
So my social media is Shoes by Jay Lorenzo, and the book, My Feet Off the Ground, is self-published, no Amazon, no Barnes & Nobles. You go on my website, jeffrylorenzowilliams.com, and you can find the book. And for the real estate, you can get a Groupon, and they have a couple of real estate schools. The one I went to is in on 34th Street called New York Real Estate Institute. They actually have me on their website, and you can go take the class there for half price because it's normally $500, but with the Groupon, you could get it for like $250 or something like that. Some of them have like online courses where you can do it for like $99 or something like that. But either way, once you take the class, you pass your class, and then you got to take the state test. So they both similar. It's just a little tricky. You got to learn like the laws. They teach you the laws. American Disability Acts, there's a couple of laws like that in there, and all of the rules to like fair housing and stuff like that. And then a bunch of real estate terms like the definitions that I give y'all to study. And once you pass that, then you just sign up with a broker, and I'm a broker, so I can hold your license, get y'all started. And then you can work for any real estate company in New York. Once you get the license, Century 21, you got Corcoran, you got Brown and Harris, like all the big boys. And then like they have a bunch of real estate seminars. I'm supposed to go to one this weekend. People from Dubai is coming to Jersey, and they doing a big conference, real estate conference out in Jersey on buying property internationally. So I'm going to go to that this weekend.
Okay.
That's like selling coke legal.
Exactly. Definitely. That's it. Just a different product.
Yeah.
You know? And you're going to go to jail in the process.
That's all it is.
I mean, this is why not just for people with disabilities. I mean, there's so many other aspects of real estate, too, like flipping houses, right? Like you could buy a property that's damaged, fix it, and then you sell it for the market value. Now, one thing I'm trying to get into is like wholesaling, where say I buy this property and it's damaged, right? Need new everything, right? I get it for $40,000. I sell it to you for $50,000, make $10,000 right quick. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get caught up in fixing it, right? Or I sell it's $40,000. I get it for $40,000 and I sell it to you for $60,000. I make $20,000. It's up to me what I want to make. But you got him that do construction. You say, all right, yo, I want to move in that house. I could go to Newburgh, find like a 3-bedroom house for you right now, and say we get a construction crew to go in there and fix it. And then you got your first house. You see what I'm saying? And that's how I go. You know what I'm saying?
All right. So one question we like to, you know what I'm saying, end it off with is when it's all said and done, you know, what
you want the people to know you as, remember you as?
I want to be remembered not about how much money I made, but how many lives I changed. You know, I want my legacy to be, you know, the people that I help is helping somebody else, and the people that they help, that legacy is just going on and on, so nobody's left behind. And even though my feet are off the ground, I never miss a step.
I know one thing, I commend you for everything you've been through, man.
I appreciate that.
Everything you've been through, everything you've done, and all the accomplishments that you achieved, man. Especially in that chair.
No, thank
From
you.
that age to now, like you said, 40 years. Yeah. A lot of motherfuckers I know ain't make it past 5.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely.
People walking don't live past 40 years. So, yeah. I mean, this day and time, it's a blessing. I mean, I feel that even though we have the damage that we have, I always feel like the blessing is in the sacrifice, right? Like, I learned so much in this situation that I don't feel like it made us stronger, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like all three of us, even though our damage may be different, God gave us the opportunity to get our life back. You know, we didn't die the day we got shot. So I just feel like all of us should just take advantage of this second chance and just make it great.
Definitely.
Definitely.
We appreciate you for coming, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
Catch y'all on the next episode.
See y'all on the next one. Thank y'all for listening.
And we out.
Peace.
We out.
Streets don't love nobody. Gotta find a new route to make it out, man.